Hi everyone, welcome back to class. Over the next 10 minutes, we are going to be doing a really fun and exciting activity called the progressive writing activity. And since this is going to be done virtually, it's going to be quite different from the face-to-face version. So listen carefully while I give you the instructions over the next couple of minutes. Before we break out into groups, I wanted to explain this activity in detail so that once we are broken down into our smaller groups, we can get going. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have 4 people in one group. And so for instance, our first group, we have Luke, Sally, Nick, and Jenny. So the 4 of you will be going into breakout room 1, which we will be in there in a couple of minutes. But before you go, this is what's going to happen. So Luke, you are going to write story number 1. Sally, you're writing story number 2. Nick, you're doing story number 3. And Jenny, you're doing story number 4. And what's going to happen is everyone is going to start the story with the first sentence of the story we're reading this week, which is The Briar Rose. And I am going to type down the first sentence in our group chat here so everyone has it. So the first sentence reads, "A long time ago, there were a king and queen who said every day, if we only had a child, but they never had one." So this is the start of the story. And all of you should copy this sentence, and then you can start your story with this sentence. And then what we are going to do is say for all of you, you're going to spend 1 minute to continue on this story. So after the sentence, you're going to spend 1 minute writing on it. And what happens next is after the minute is up, in which I am going to be coming into your breakout rooms to remind you when the time is up, you are going to basically copy and paste what you wrote to student number 2, so the next person. So for instance, Luke, you're in the story you're writing. Once you're done writing it for 1 minute, you can copy and paste what you wrote and send it over to Sally. So only Sally sees what you wrote. And then Sally, once you get what Luke wrote, you write for 1 minute to continue on that story, which is story number 1, which is the one that Luke just wrote. And after that minute, after you're done writing, you can go ahead and copy and paste what Luke and you wrote, and then go ahead and copy and paste the content and send it over to Nick, who is student number 3. And Nick, once you get that story, same thing, spend 1 minute to write on it and to continue on that story. And once that minute is up, you can copy and paste what Luke, Sally, and you wrote, and then copy and paste it and send it to Jenny. So here's the last part. So Jenny, you're going to spend 1 minute writing the story to continue on what Luke, Sally, and Nick wrote. And at the end of that minute, you're going to copy and paste the entire content and then send it back to Luke. So Luke can read the entire story number 1 and write a conclusion on the story for another minute. But in the meantime, while Luke is writing story number 1, Sally, you're starting with story number 2, and so on. Nick, you're starting with story number 3, and Jenny, you're starting with story number 4, which are individual stories. So each of you is basically starting a new story. And how this works is when Sally, you're writing your story, Luke is writing his story, and at the same time, Nick and Jenny, they're writing their stories. And after that first minute is up, Sally, you are passing your story down to Nick. And at that time, you're getting the story from Luke, so you can write from Luke's story. And not to confuse anyone, the same is happening with Nick and Jenny. In that first minute, you're writing your own story. And then the person that you're passing the story on to is always the same person. So Nick always passes it to Jenny. And Jenny, you are passing that story back to Luke. So each of you are basically going to be spending 4 minutes to write on 4 different stories, whether you're the one who started the story, the second person, the third person, or the fourth person that is continuing with that story. You are going to be participating in writing those all 4 stories. So this is going to be very fun and exciting, and you're encouraged to be as creative and as silly as possible in your stories. And let me know if you have any questions. I know the instructions were really long, especially that this is going to be done virtually. It's a very different format than when we were meeting face to face. So it's completely normal if anything is confusing. So let me know if you have any questions before I let you break out into your own breakout rooms and then spend the next 5 minutes focusing on your stories. Yes, Jenny, do you have a question? Yes. So for instance, that's a great question. So for Luke's story, you're going to be the 4th person who is going to be writing the story, but for your own story, you're the first person writing it. But no matter whether you're the 4th or 1st person, the next person that you're passing the story to is going to be the same person, is Luke. So yes, for Sally's story, you're going to be the 3rd person who gets the story, and then after you're done writing that one, also pass it to Luke. Yes. Yep, you got it. Yep, so I have the all of your group names and who is in which group here with me. So like I said, the first group, it's going to be Luke, Sally, Nick, and Jenny. And for our second group, I am going to type down the names of the students that are in the second group, your breakout link, and who is student number 1 versus 2, 3, 4. So we don't get confused with the order. Yes, I know this activity is so much easier and more fun when we do it in person, but unfortunately because of the pandemic, this has to be done virtually. So this is the best we can do, and hopefully we can still make it fun. So here is the breakout link for the second group. And once you get it, please go into your respective groups. And I will be coming into your group every minute to remind you that the time is up. But in case if I don't show up, it's good if you guys are keeping track of the time yourself, so you can go into pass your story down to the next person so that the next person has enough time to complete their part. Okay? Yes, so, yeah. Yep, you got it. Yes, yes, let me know anytime if you have any questions, whether verbally or you can type it down here so I can answer for you. Okay, so here is the breakout link for group number 3. Yes, John, you are in group number 3, and you are student number 2 in that group. Yes, so you will always get your story from student number 1, except your own story that you're starting with, which is right when you get into the breakout room, and then you will pass your finished writing onto student number 3, which is Sam. Yep, you got it. See, you guys are so smart, and I really appreciate you being flexible. I know this is not very easy to understand in the beginning, but once you get it, it's going to be super fun. Okay, all right, so now I finished sending out all the breakout links, and I am going to let you go ahead and get on with your creative writing, and I will come and visit your breakout rooms once in a while and see you there.